Reef saved me. Casualty of war. He hadn't interfered. He might still be alive. I've spent my whole life putting bad guys behind bars. Everyone thought they knew why Pauley Perrette retired from acting. The official story was simple. She wanted a quieter life, but the leaked documents tell a different story. There were assault allegations, safety violations, and a co-star she was so afraid of that she needed therapy just to cope. CBS thought their settlement would end it all. They were wrong. Now at 56, Pauley is finally ready to tell the truth about what really happened in those final years on set. Pauley Perrette was born on March 27, 1969 in New Orleans, but her childhood was far from rooted. Her father worked in the railroad industry, which meant the family was constantly moving from one state to another. By the time she was a teenager, she had already lived in 14 different places. She never stayed long enough to feel like she belonged anywhere, but this constant uprooting taught her how to adjust quickly, how to blend in, and how to read people fast. Though she was born in Louisiana, she always said Alabama felt like home. Growing up across so many places in the South, she became incredibly adaptable, something that would later help her survive the unpredictable world of Hollywood. Even before anyone knew her as Abby, Pauley had her eyes set on crime fighting. As a child, she didn't just read fairy tales or watch cartoons. She was drawn to real-life stories of criminals and the science used to catch them. While most kids were dreaming of becoming astronauts or athletes, she talked about joining a rock band, working with animals, or becoming an FBI agent. And she meant it. After high school, she studied criminal justice and earned degrees in sociology, psychology, and criminology. She didn't stop there. She moved to New York and began working on a master's degree at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. What drove her wasn't fame or success. She simply wanted to understand why people hurt others without remorse. That question stayed with her for years. While she was studying and trying to make ends meet, something happened that changed her forever. During her time in Atlanta in the 1980s, she was violently mugged. Details are scarce, but the impact was deep. It wasn't just a terrifying moment, it became a turning point. Instead of pushing the trauma away, she turned it into fuel. It gave her a stronger reason to keep studying crime and helping others. From that moment on, she started speaking out for victims. She used her voice and her growing platform to support people who had been hurt, always remembering what it felt like to be one of them. Her college years were anything but ordinary. Pauley worked hard in school, but she worked even harder outside it just to survive. In Georgia, she studied criminal justice and kept her grades high. When she moved to New York, things got tougher. She bartended in underground clubs while rocking a mohawk and combat boots, blending in perfectly with the city's eccentric nightlife. She also passed out flyers on roller skates and even cooked on dinner cruise boats to pay for school. It wasn't glamorous, but she later said all of it gave her an edge. She wasn't just reading about human behavior in textbooks. She was living it every day. That mix of academic learning and real-world experience became the perfect training for acting. Even though she hadn't planned it that way, she got her first tattoo at just 15 years old. In the deeply conservative Southern world she grew up in, that was shocking. She had been raised in a strict church, where movies and television were rarely allowed. As a child, she looked like the perfect Southern girl. Blonde hair and pigtails, polite and well-behaved. But inside she felt different. The tattoos became a way to show the world she wasn't going to follow the rules others had made for her. Over the years, she collected around 20 tattoos, each one expressing part of her identity. She turned her body into a canvas that defied every expectation she was raised with. When she finally made it to Hollywood in the 1990s, she only had $71 to her name. She had just come from New York, where she'd been bartending in the club scene and doing anything she could to stay afloat. In Los Angeles, things didn't get any easier. She crashed on friends' floors and took whatever jobs she could find. She even did voiceover work for a Dylan song service to make rent. Acting wasn't a dream she'd been chasing all her life. It was something she stumbled into while trying to survive, and she leaned into it only because her original plan of working in criminology couldn't pay the bills. During one of her lowest moments, she walked dogs along Sunset Boulevard for just $5 a day. Didn't seem like much, but it led to something special. One of those dogs, a pit bull she rescued off the street, became her beloved Cece. That dog wasn't just a pet. It was part of her story. Years later, when she clashed with a co-star over his aggressive dog, the connection to Cece gave that incident even more weight. Her love for animals began on those walks and became a permanent part of her life. She has supported countless animal rescue organizations since then. Her first break in television came not through auditions or agents, but by overhearing someone talk in a coffee shop. She was sitting nearby when she caught wind of a casting call for the Drew Carey Show. That single moment led to her landing a role as an extra named Darcy, which she played in 4 episodes over 2 years. From there, she slowly began building her resume. She landed parts on shows like Frasier and Murder One, and each one brought her a little closer to her big break. That overheard conversation was the turning point. In the year 2000, she made a small appearance in the movie Almost Famous, playing a radio DJ named Alice Wisdom. It wasn't a huge role, but it gave her the chance to work with actors like Philip Seymour Hoffman and director Cameron Crowe. A few years earlier, she had starred in a small drama called The Price of Kissing. These roles weren't blockbuster hits, but they helped her grow as an actress. Even though Almost Famous didn't make much money at the box office, it became a cult favorite. Her presence in those films showed she had range and talent long before incest made her famous.